The ballroom glimmered with gold and gossip. Chandeliers spilled light over designer gowns and champagne flutes, the hum of polite laughter wrapping around Maya like a noose. She tugged at the strap of her emerald dress, trying to ignore the way her heart stuttered when she spotted him, her ex, Jason, flashing his rehearsed smile beside his flawless new fiancé. Of course, he was here. And of course, he'd be dying to see her alone. Maya's throat tightened. She couldn't give him that satisfaction. She scanned the room, searching for any plausible escape or, God help her, a distraction. That's when she saw him. He stood by the bar, tall and composed, dark hair slightly tousled like he didn't care how good he looked. His suit was cut with the kind of precision only money, or power, could buy. He looked wildly out of place yet perfectly at ease, swirling a glass of whiskey as if he owned the air itself. Before she could overthink it, she marched up to him. "Hi," she blurted, voice an octave higher than usual. "I know this is weird, but, could you pretend to be my date for tonight?" One eyebrow lifted in quiet surprise. That's quite the opening line. She winced. "I know, it's insane, but my ex is here, and if I have to face him alone, I might actually throw myself into the chocolate fountain." He studied her, really studied her, for a heartbeat, eyes thoughtful rather than mocking. Then, with a half smile, he set down his glass and extended an arm. "Well, I wouldn't want that on my conscience. Shall we?" The relief that flooded her chest was immediate. She slipped her arm through his, her pulse quickening as they walked toward the dance floor. Conversations faltered. People stared. Jason's smug grin vanished the moment he saw her with the stranger. "Darling," the man murmured smoothly, his hand settling at the small of her back, "you're doing beautifully." "Thank you," she whispered, breath catching at how convincing he sounded. When the night finally wound down, Maya turned to him, embarrassed but grateful. "Thank you for saving me. I owe you one." He smiled, slow and knowing. "You might want to know who you owe, first." "Ethan Reed, CEO, Reed Enterprises." Her eyes widened. You're him." He grinned. "And you, Miss Maya," she breathed. "Well, Maya," he said, his voice softening. "Next time, maybe I'll ask you to pretend for me." The rain came down in relentless sheets, drumming against the windows of the tiny cafe. Lila stumbled inside, dripping wet and breathless, clutching her phone like a lifeline. Her best friend's text glared at her from the screen. "Don't forget the reunion tonight. Bring your boyfriend, or prepare for interrogation." Lila groaned. Boyfriend. The one she'd invented last month just to stop the pity looks. Her fictional, Mark, kind, successful, utterly non-existent. She looked up, scanning the cozy cafe. And that's when she saw him. He sat alone at the counter, tall, impeccably dressed in a tailored gray suit, dark hair slightly messy, as if the rain had kissed it too. There was something quietly magnetic about him, the way he sipped his coffee while reading on a sleek tablet. Desperation made her reckless. She walked up before she could lose her nerve. "Hi, I know this sounds absolutely crazy," she said, voice shaky but earnest, "but could you pretend to be my date for tonight?" He blinked once, clearly caught off guard, then leaned back in his chair. "That depends," he said, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Are you planning to kidnap me?" She let out a nervous laugh. "Only socially. Just for one evening. It's my high school reunion, and, long story short, everyone thinks I have a boyfriend." He tilted his head, studying her like she was the most interesting thing he'd seen all day. "You're serious?" "Completely." A pause. Then, surprisingly, he set down his cup. "All right, why not? It's been a dull week." Hours later, Lila walked into the reunion on his arm, her nerves replaced by stunned admiration. He was charming, confident, and so effortlessly believable that people hung on his every word. When he slipped an arm around her waist and whispered jokes in her ear, her laughter wasn't fake, it was helpless. By the end of the night, she was almost sad it was over. "Thank you," she said softly outside the venue. "You were perfect." He smiled, eyes glinting with mischief. "Next time you need a fake date, call my assistant first. It'll save you the surprise." "Assistant," she repeated, confused. He extended his hand. "Daniel Hayes, CEO, Hayes Tech." Her jaw dropped. "Wait, you're that Hayes?" He grinned. In the flesh. And by the way, Lila, he leaned closer. Next time, let's skip the pretending. It had been 3 weeks since the reunion, but Lila still couldn't stop thinking about him. About Daniel Hayes, the stranger who'd turned one humiliating night into something she couldn't forget. She told herself it was silly. CEOs didn't think twice about drenched women in coffee shops who begged them for fake dates. Still, whenever she walked past Hayes Tech's downtown office, she couldn't help glancing at the glass tower, wondering if he remembered her. Then one Tuesday morning, her boss dropped a bomb. Lila, our client meeting got moved up. Hayes Tech. You'll be handling the pitch. Her heart nearly stopped. Hayes Tech. When she entered the sleek conference room hours later, her pulse thundered in her ears. He was already there. Sharp suit, confident smile, same glint in his eyes. Miss Carter, he greeted, leaning back in his chair like he'd been expecting her. Fancy seeing you again. She froze. You remember me. How could I forget the woman who recruited me for the most entertaining evening of my year? His tone was teasing, but his gaze was warm. She tried to sound professional. Well, tonight's not about fake dating. It's about marketing strategy. He chuckled. Pity. As the meeting went on, Lila tried to stay composed, but Daniel kept throwing her off balance. Subtle compliments, lingering glances, the faintest hint of a smile when their hands brushed over the same document. When it ended, she gathered her notes and stood to leave, heart pounding. But he stopped her. Lila, he said softly, and there was no CEO in his voice now, just the man who'd once held her close under fairy lights. I don't usually mix business with pleasure. She blinked, unsure where this was going. But I can't stop thinking about that night. The laughter. The way you made even small talk feel like something real. He smiled. Dinner. This time, as ourselves. Her lips curved despite herself. No fake names, no pretending. No pretending, he promised. And as she walked beside him toward the elevator, she couldn't help but think, maybe some make-believe nights were just the beginning of something real. The restaurant Daniel chose was nothing short of breathtaking, all soft lighting, quiet jazz, and the faint aroma of truffle and wine. It wasn't ostentatious, but everything about it whispered luxury. The kind that came naturally to someone like him. Lila smoothed her dress, feeling suddenly out of place. You know, she said with a nervous laugh as the host led them to a private corner table, when you said dinner, I thought you meant pizza. Maybe tacos. Daniel chuckled, pulling out her chair. Pizza has its charm, but for a first real date, I wanted something you'd remember. I'm already terrified enough to remember this forever, she muttered under her breath, making him grin. As the evening unfolded, the tension that had followed them since that reunion slowly melted away. He wasn't the composed, unreachable CEO from the magazines. He was surprisingly down to earth, curious about her stories, quick to laugh, and occasionally teasing in a way that made her blush. So, he said, swirling his wine, tell me something honest. Something the woman who begged a stranger for help wouldn't admit. Lila leaned back, thinking. Okay, I'm a little bit of a control freak. I plan everything, down to the minute. That night was completely out of character for me. He smiled. Then I'm honored to be your one spontaneous decision. She laughed. And you, tell me something real. He hesitated, then sighed. Honestly, people rarely talk to me without wanting something. A favor, a deal, a headline. You didn't. You just needed someone real for one night. It was refreshing. The sincerity in his voice softened her heart. For a moment, neither spoke, the world shrinking to the quiet warmth between them. When dessert arrived, Daniel reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers. You know, he said, his voice low, the first time I saw you in that cafe, I thought you looked like trouble. And now, she whispered. Now, he murmured, holding her gaze, I know you are. She laughed, cheeks flushed. You say that like it's a good thing. It is, he said simply. Because for once, it's the kind I don't want to escape. Outside, the city glittered, and for the first time, neither of them wanted the night to end.